Okay. Hey guys, it's Tori and I'm here right now with Pat from Movements. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's a busy night for music in Orlando, as we were just talking about. There's like 4 different shows going on here, but we picked our favorite. We're here with Movements. How have you been enjoying this tour so far? It's a good lineup, huh?
Yeah, no, it's honestly probably my favorite tour that we've been a part of. Yeah, so far, I mean, all the shows have been like unbelievable. Everybody on this tour is like really nice, really welcoming, and obviously we're kind of like the newcomers, you know, so
a little bit,
it's we were a little worried that it might feel cliquey, for lack of a better term, but honestly, like, everybody has been so cool to us, and everybody has been extremely, like I said, welcoming and warm, so it's been good.
Yeah, that was actually something I got a fan question about. Was someone mentioned that you said you were feeling nervous about this tour, so how are you feeling now? Feeling good, like coping with the nerves a little better now?
Yeah, I feel a lot more relaxed, a lot more comfortable now. I was very, very nervous coming into this tour just because not to sound like a fanboy, but like these are some of my favorite bands, and I don't know if any of them know that, but they do now. So yeah, I was definitely nervous, but no, it's been really, really good, really positive. So
good, love to hear it. And so speaking of your music a little bit here, Feel Something's the album that's out now, and I remember reading in a previous interview that you mentioned that your #1 goal was just to invoke some emotion in your listeners, whatever it may be, especially in an industry where there are a lot of artists that are a little bit gimmicky, for lack of a better word, not calling out anyone or anything, but that's just a fact of the matter. So for you personally, what is your goal with creating music, and what do you feel is the purpose, and why do you think it's important to have genuine music?
I think for me, like, my music has always been like a form of therapy, you know. It's how I talk about the things that I don't like to talk about in day-to-day conversation, in my normal life and whatnot. I tend to bottle things up, so for me, music is a way to kind of just like let go of everything and to kind of, I guess, cope with the things that I need to cope with. And it's always been important for me to speak openly and speak honestly, because I feel like that's the only way for me to really genuinely find any sort of healing or any sort of, I guess, relief from, again, like the things that I deal with, whether it be mental illness or the loss of a loved one or whatever that is, you know. It's like, I don't like the idea of making up a story or fabricating anything for the sake of an impact. I would rather be honest and talk about how I feel, and if it's impactful, then great. If it's not, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, at least I'm being honest, and at least I'm being true to myself, and I think that's just part of being an artist, is doing what you want to do. And I guess I don't necessarily have anything against the bands or the artists that do choose a little bit more of a gimmicky route. You know, I think ultimately, like, this is a business, and this is, you know, the industry is the industry, and we are here to make a career for ourselves. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like, personally, to me, I would feel less fulfilled knowing that whatever I was doing was fake, I guess. So yeah, I just prefer to be real. I prefer to be genuine and just go from there. So
and I do think fans are smarter than some people give them credit for. Like, you can usually see through those artists that are kind of trying to cash in on like a trend or whatever it may be, you know?
I think so too. I think the line tends to get a little bit blurred, though, you know, especially with the trend these days sort of being, you know, mental illness is cool, and cashing in on that sort of sad boy aesthetic, and I've never wanted to, you know, I've never wanted Movements to be like, I guess, compared to that, because it was never about that. It wasn't about writing sad music just to write sad music. It was about writing however I felt, and I guess if I ever felt, you know, happy, I would write happy music. You know, like, if one day I woke up and I didn't have depression anymore, sure, I would write happy-go-lucky love songs and be a shining whatever for the rest of my life. But that's not me, and I don't think that'll ever be me. So, you know, again, it's about just being as real as possible and talking about the things that I want to talk about. So
I mean, from what I can see, you've done it in a very graceful way where you're not pushing it on people. It's just kind of, absolutely. And something that does come with that is you've kind of become a little bit of a spokesperson for mental health in this music industry, and people do look up to you. So how are you handling those pressures of being that role model for people?
It's scary, honestly. Like, I never really considered myself to be any sort of like you said, spokesperson or mental health awareness advocate, and I was sort of, I guess, thrust into that position very quickly, and it gets really overwhelming sometimes, because oftentimes I don't even really know how to help myself, and that's why I do the things that I do. That's why I write the music that I write. I think some people can start to forget that I am just a normal human, and that I am just a person just like anybody else, and I deal with things, and I get upset, and I have bad days, and I get overwhelmed extremely easily. So yeah, that part of the job, I guess, has been it's been a weird transition. I think I've gotten better at it, and I like to think that if I'm talking to somebody at a show who's just pouring their heart out to me and telling me all these things and saying, oh, like your music helped me so much, I like to think that I know what to say to them and that I can help, guide here and there. But ultimately, I feel like my job is more so just to listen and to, be there for the people who do understand what it's like to go through depression or deal with anxiety or any of the things that we talk about in our music. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, like I said, I don't necessarily know how to help myself a lot of the time, so I don't know how to help other people, but I guess the least I could do is listen and at least try and understand where they're coming from and just let them know that solidarity it sort of speaks for itself, just knowing that you're not alone in whatever it is that you're dealing with. So
I guess in a way that's probably how you ended up in this role, is because in a way you are just like everyone else, so they can kind of see themselves in you a little bit. So that's probably how it happened to begin with.
Yeah, no, straight up. I mean, 3 years ago, I was just another kid who goes to shows, I just happened to get really lucky, and I happened to write music that people enjoy, and we've met a lot of great people that have given us a lot of great opportunities, and that's what has kind of led us to where we are now. But ultimately, I'm just another kid, I'm not special.
I mean, just a little bit. Just a little bit. But no, and considering how personal your songs are, though, which one was the most challenging for you to write on this album?
I oftentimes find it hard to be vulnerable and to talk about the things that I want to talk about. But I think maybe the hardest one to write on this particular record was Deadly Dull, which is the song that deals with Alzheimer's and dementia, that sort of thing. And to me, that was hard because I wanted to do the story justice. I wanted to be truthful and honest and kind of, like I said, do it justice, like, for the people that were involved in it, as well as making it a good song. And there comes sort of like this line where it's like you don't want to overstep your boundaries and talk about something that's too personal, but at the same time you want it to be personal and you want it to make an impact and that sort of thing. And so that was tough, like finding that right balance of where I wanted that song to go, how I wanted that song to play out. It took me a long time. There was a minute there where we didn't even think that song was going to make the record because I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't do it. I was like, no guys, like I'm not vibing with this. Like, it was tough. But I mean, I'm actually really, really proud of it now because we did pull it together, and honestly, I think it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. So yeah, it was definitely a difficult process, as was a lot of this writing process for this record, but overall I think in the end we're all extremely proud of it.
Yeah. And something actually that kind of just caught my attention that you mentioned was that you weren't sure about drawing the line of being too personal or not personal enough. And I feel like that can apply whether it be with music or even just with social media and the things that you post. So how do you find that you curate those things, and where do you draw the line of being open with your fans but also keeping some stuff to yourself?
Yeah, I have learned sort of to keep my private life private, and I don't necessarily discuss too much about like what I'm doing like on a day-to-day basis. Like I'll maybe update my Instagram story every so often, and quick little things here and there, but I try not to be too blatant about anything, just because I don't necessarily like the attention. Like, it's not really my thing. I've never really been a fan of like being popular. so yeah, I don't know. Like, it's sort of a hard question to answer, because like, I mean, just like anybody else, yeah, like I'm gonna update my social media, but at the same time, unless I'm really close with people, chances are they're not gonna know a whole lot about what I'm doing. I keep my Instagram and my Twitter open, but like Facebook, for instance, is like strictly like close friends and family, and like that's maybe where I post a lot more of like my personal stuff, or like interact with people a little bit more on like a genuine level, versus maybe being a little bit more, I don't want to say disingenuous, but being a little bit more closed off on more public platforms. But I do like to show a little bit of personality here and there, and I do like to joke around, and I do joke around on Twitter a lot.
Yeah. That's the place to do it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's really like the main place where like I'll mess around. But other than that, yeah, I try to keep it a little more low key.
Definitely. And wow, that was a tangent. But back to the album here. So, no, I think we both did that. It's fine. But feel something. Something that was cool about the album is that there's a lot of you used colors as a way of building imagery and getting moods across and stuff like that. So why did you choose colors as an underlying theme throughout the album?
Yeah. So like the first single that we released for the album is called Colorblind, and it's about me being colorblind. I am colorblind.
Which is why I'm so curious about colors.
So the whole, I mean, I think that was one of the first songs that I actually wrote for the record. And I liked the idea of sort of, I guess, like applying colors to emotions, because just like I can't see certain colors, or I have trouble seeing certain colors, I sort of feel like I'm the same way with feelings. Like I don't necessarily feel things the way I feel like I should be feeling them, if that makes sense.
That's actually so interesting. My mind is blown.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like I'm not capable of feeling things. There's been periods in my life where I've gone through just, really intense depressive sort of like periods where I've just felt numb. It's like you don't feel sad, you don't feel happy, you don't really feel anything at all. You're just there. And so, yeah, I was like, for some reason, my brain was just like, oh, you can't see colors, you can't feel things. Maybe you just, that's just how you're wired.
That's such an interesting comparison.
Yeah, so then I just kind of, I wrote Colorblind, and then the interesting thing about Colorblind is that song went through multiple versions of itself as well, just like Deadly Dole did. So certain choruses or certain like lyrics didn't necessarily work right in that song, and I tend to recycle. So like if something doesn't work somewhere, I just put it off, like I put it on the back burner, and then I'll come back to it later. So that's why you hear songs like Deep Red having a similar sort of vibe, because Deep Red, some of the lyrics that were in Colorblind are now in Deep Red. Same with The Gray. The song, like little bits and pieces here all correlate to the same mood or same feeling, even though they're different songs that are technically about different things. So it's sort of just like an overall mood that I decided like that works, and I'm just gonna roll with it.
Absolutely. And so this album came out a little over a year ago. So are there plans for new music in the works? That's the golden question.
Yeah, no, we're working on new music right now, but we've been like on the go so much this year that it's been really, really hard. I mean, like I've been home for like no longer than 3 weeks since like March. And it's what, November right now, almost December. So yeah, it's been a crazy year. We've been really, really busy. I've loved it though. I mean, we've gotten to do so much this year and see so many awesome places, all just from this one record, which is so cool. But yeah, we are working on new stuff. We are gonna go home after this tour, and obviously take the holidays off and just chill. But then starting like early next year, we're gonna take a lot of time to just like write and figure out some new stuff. And then we've got a couple more tours next year, and then I think like next summer we're probably gonna take like, I don't want to say a hiatus, because it's not like we're like leaving the band or anything, but we're gonna take a break from touring for a while. Probably I would assume maybe like 5 or 6 months worth of time, just to completely do all new music and record a new album, and then come out with it, and then hit the road again with a new album. So
awesome. Yeah, I know some people can try and write music on the road, and I just never understood that. To me, it's like that's insane.
It's so difficult. There's always so much else going on, or like you're just exhausted from being on the road that you don't want to do anything. So
so this seems like a good move. I'm excited to hear what comes from you guys in the future. But yeah, thank you for all your hard work and everything you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always. Well, thank you so much, everybody watching. Subscribe for more videos, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.